Did you know the difference between getting through only 5 HHN houses or all 10 in one night can be as simple as standing here or here at 5 p.m.? In years past, this area of the park has been used for Stay and Scream, which is one of the best time savers at HHN. But not taking advantage of Stay and Scream isn't even the biggest mistake you can make. So today, we're going to talk about 7 mistakes that we see people making over and over again at Halloween Horror Nights.
So Anna and I have a motto, and that is can till can't. And what we mean by that is park open to park closed. When we would travel down here from Tennessee, we would be in the parks as soon as they would let us through the gate, and then we would get kicked out after the parks closed because we loved being in the parks so much that we just couldn't stand missing a second here. And we still live by that motto. We love spending as much time as possible, but if you're headed to HHN, that motto might get you in trouble. It's gotten us in trouble a few times.
We want to be clear. We are not telling you to miss out on any part of HHN. As a matter of fact, on the nights that we come to the event, we will be here from Stay and Scream all the way until the very close of the event because we want to experience every single second of it. But what we are telling you to avoid is getting to the parks at 8 in the morning for early park admission and never leaving, just staying until the end of HHN. We have done that ourselves. And to say it's exhausting is an understatement. We racked up like 40,000 steps. We had to break out the massage gun. We were taking ice baths, Tylenol twice a day. It was terrible. What you don't want to do is ruin your entire vacation on the very first day. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. If you are planning to come to the parks during the day and HHN at night, what we suggest is just scheduling your day so that you have some kind of a break, whether that's sitting down to eat lunch indoors for an hour or two, or going back to your hotel room and taking a nap. Just give yourself some amount of time to rest and recuperate so that you are recharged and ready to go for HHN.
Thinking back to it, I don't know. Like I have no idea how we did that, because last year opening weekend we had sort of a similar schedule. I think I recovered last week. I think last week was the first time I felt normal. We have made our way over here to the Central Park area, which will be home to one of the scare zones. They've announced the scare zones, but they haven't announced where they're going to be. This one would make a lot of sense for the jungle with the tree cover, but it brings up our next mistake, and that is to not ignore the scare zones. Now, if you've been to the event before, you realize that you can't really ignore them. You're going to walk through them. There's not really any path where you can't go through a scare zone to get to the houses. But what we mean by it is they are super immersive and well designed. They're well thought out. There's always incredible theming. So we like to spend a lot of time in the scare zones. We'll come over here some nights and not really go through many houses and just spend an hour or two in the scare zones, just checking everything out. If you'd asked us this a few years ago, we'd have probably told you, like, yeah, just make sure you walk through them and look at them. But the scare zones used to be amazing years back, and I feel like they're trending back that way. Last year's scare zones were probably the best scare zones that have been at the event, in our opinion, in 10 years plus. It's so awesome coming to the parks this time of year because you get to see the set pieces come out for the scare zones. And a lot of people come to HHN and they're just focused on the houses. And we get it. Like, if you're coming down here for 1 or 2 days, you're going to want to focus on the houses. All we're saying is that when you go through the scare zones, at least take a little bit of time, take some pictures, do your thing. Like, just take it all in, because there's a lot of time and energy that goes into these areas, and the scare actors are incredible. Just remember, no flash photography. So this is the first year in a long time that I can remember where all the scare zones are kind of tied together by a single character. So Dr. Oddfellow is part of every scare zone. So this year, more than any, I think paying attention and like enjoying the scare zones is just going to help bring the event together for you and tell a better story.
This next mistake that we're going to talk about is a little bit nuanced, but it physically pains us when we see people do this, and that is burning express too early. So here at HHN in Orlando, the only Express Pass that Universal sells is a limited Express Pass, which means that you can only express each house once per night. And once you use your Express Pass, you can't use it on that house anymore. And so what a lot of people do is as soon as they get here, they run to the houses and they break out their Express Pass and they try to go through them as quick as possible. But what we like to do is we try to go through as many houses as we can without Express. So then later in the night when those wait times do build up, we can go back and go through them a second time. So typically our threshold for a wait time is 30 minutes. If it's under 30 minutes, we're gonna go in the standby line. If it's over it, we'll use our Express. We came over here to a Stay and Scream location to talk about this because we feel like this is where most people make this mistake. And if you're not very familiar with Stay and Scream, it's basically early park admission for HHN. We've got a beginner's guide coming out in the next few weeks that is going to do a deep dive in all things HHN, like Stay and Scream in particular. But let's say that you get over here at 4:30, right? You want to get in Stay and Scream so that you get into HHN before people waiting at the main gate. And you get in line for one of the houses, right? There's gonna be a couple signs, you get in line, you are waiting for that house. You're waiting a good hour, hour and a half before you get released from there. And the last thing that you wanna do is go into the express line. Like, you're probably gonna be one of the first 50 people into the house. And yeah, they're gonna let those like 20 people that go into the express in first, but you're still gonna be one of the first few people that goes through that house. And there is absolutely no reason when you've already waited an hour or more to waste your express pass. Where I am standing will soon be a food booth if Universal does what they have in the past, and we love the food at Halloween Horror Nights. There's just something about fried food and getting the pants scared off of you that just go perfectly together. Like, two of the things that this nation was founded on were fried food and getting the pants scared off of you, and HHN has both of them. But one of the mistakes that people make with the food is they try to eat at the wrong time because the lines for some of these food booths are going to get insane. So what we suggest doing, so you're gonna go to Stay and Scream, and that first like hour that the parks are open, you're gonna use that to get through 3 or 4 houses without Express. And then once about 7 o'clock comes, the lines are really gonna start to build up and those wait times are gonna get really high. So all those people that were out in the front of the gate, okay, way up there, they're going to make their way to the houses, but you're a step ahead of them. You've already been through 3 or 4 houses. So at that point, you need to make your way over to some food booths. And another reason that this is strategic is because that's gonna be at about 7 o'clock and it's not gonna be dark outside yet. And don't get us wrong, we love going through the scare zones and the houses all of the time, but HHN is so much better once it's dark out.
Like Anna said, there's going to be a mad dash of people from the front gate, and they're all going to be headed to the houses, and you're just going to be sitting on the side, eating a spooky burger, laughing as they get into the line for an hour wait, and you're going to be full and ready to go through some more houses. So we've been talking about how we like to go through houses multiple times, and that's because the next mistake that we wanted to talk about is judging a house on like one walkthrough or just a singular bad walkthrough. And we've been guilty of this ourselves, but the problem is there's cast change, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong during your walkthrough. So you're not always gonna love the house the first time. I can think of several houses throughout the history of us coming to the event where we thought the house was just not that great, or we judged it a little too quick and we didn't go through the house for a couple more weeks. And then we went through and got an actual walkthrough, like a decent walkthrough, and it ended up being one of our favorite houses of the event. I can think of several that it was like that. Or another thing that people do is judge a house before you even go through it. I know last year, the weekend, it was getting so much flack, and we weren't really giving it flack, but we weren't that excited about it.
No.
And I think at this point, I would have to say the weekend is likely our number 2 house from last year.
Yeah.
It was so good, so just don't judge them before you go in them or on a singular bad ride.
If you've ever had multiple trips to HHN in one season, you already know this, but some of the houses also change throughout the event. And it's not like they change like the physical sets or anything like that, but it has more to do with the scare actors learning their role and the timing and figuring out how to scare you more. Sometimes they'll put people in different places. And so the houses can get way better as the event goes on. Last year, the Monsters house was the perfect example of this. In the beginning, it was fun, like it was a good house, but by the end of last year's event, that house was like probably our third favorite, and it scared the living heck out of me every time we went through there. I was like running out of it at the end because it got so much better.
Got to scoot over. We had to come over here and try to get out of the rain. It's not raining that hard, but just enough to be annoying. But that leads us, it's a great segue to our next mistake, and that is not embracing the traditions of Halloween Horror Nights. And in case you're not aware, it rains every single year on opening night.
Yeah.
Come September 1st, I don't care what the news people say, it's gonna rain that night because that is tradition. At this point, the event has been going on for 33, but 32 official years, and there are just some traditions or some rites of passage that come with going to HHN. Like you've got your pizza fries and your twisted taters and your blinky cups. Like those are all things that we think you should really experience. Are the pizza fries the best thing you'll ever eat? Absolutely not, but we think you should experience them. Is the blinky cup gonna get like corroded around the battery by the time you get it home? More than likely,
probably,
but it's still worth it. Now, obviously, what makes HHN so widely known as probably the best Halloween event is the houses and just the scale of everything and how much detail goes into everything. But one of the things that keeps people coming back are those traditional things, like the experience of it, being with friends, being with everyone. And I just think that's what makes the event for us. We look forward to little things every single year. And something else that I would challenge y'all to do is start your own traditions. Like we have things that we do every year that not like, I guess it's not the typical experience, but it's our typical experience, and it's what makes the event great for us. Like our family comes down and we just have a great week with them. And I don't know, there's so many things I love about HHN, but the traditions of it are some of my favorites.
The rain has stopped for now. Let's push on. During the big announcement that Universal just put out about HHN, we did learn that the theme for this year's tribute store is a New York City-based comic book store, and we are so excited about that. The creative team that works on the tribute store does an amazing job, and we can't wait to see what they come up with. But there is a mistake that people make with the tribute store, and that is going through it during HHN. So the tribute store is the only part of the event that is open during the day. So if you have a daytime ticket to HHN, do not waste your precious minutes at the event going through the tribute store, because you can do that before HHN even starts. Now, if you don't have a daytime ticket to the parks, absolutely go through the tribute store. It is 100% worth it. That's one of those traditions, like we were talking about, that every single person needs to do because they're always so impressive and immersive and so cool. It's like the perfect place where you can see all the merch and do all of that. So it's absolutely worth going through. We're just saying, don't waste your time during the event if you don't have to, especially because like last year, there were several nights where the line for the tribute store was so long, it was like wrapped around towards the New York Public Library, and it was probably an hour-long wait just to get in the tribute store. So do that during the day.
This New York area is the first scare zone that really has a lot of pieces coming into it that are kind of revealing of what it is. I mean, Universal hasn't announced anything, but the stage that says Music Fest 69 kind of makes me think that it's Vamp 69. I could be wrong, but my intuition says that I'm like 95% probably going to be correct. But like Anna was saying, if you have a chance to go to the tribute store, you have to. Like, it is a big part of HHN, and you absolutely must. But now, I think you're ready to not make any mistakes at the event. And if you want to see 7 great tips for planning your trip to HHN, make sure to check out this video right up here. But thanks for hanging out, and we will see you guys in the fall.
Bye!